I still remember those loud screams, shouting, and crying. I have witnessed from extremely close proximity a husband brutally beating his own wife in front of the entire neighborhood to such an extent that blood began flowing from her left nostril. Actually, when I was a child, I have witnessed a great deal of domestic violence. And this was not limited to just one or two households. It occurred in almost every alternate home. At the time, we were not much aware about it when we first moved there, but gradually, we came to understand that such behavior was considered normal in that environment. Even today, I still remember the sound, the screams of women, and the loud, shouting voice of man. They were so intense that it was impossible to ignore them. And this does not happen once or twice. It occurred in almost every alternate house, sometimes in one house and sometimes in another. All of it affected me so profoundly that I would cry silently at night while going to sleep, literally in secrecy so that no one would notice. I would simply wait for those sounds to stop, only then could I fall asleep. Although after 3 years of regular sadhana and yoga, these traumatic memories don't make me suffer the same way, but the scene itself is still vividly preserved. Now, gradually, I grew up and entered the teenage phase of my life when conversations about boyfriends and girlfriends are considered normal. Even light-hearted conversations about relationships and even topics like marriages are done very casually and considered normal. However, in my case, it was entirely different. The moment I heard the word marriage, I experienced an unusual sense of fear so intense that I would react voluntarily. In fact, I developed the fear from male teachers from the schools and not just strangers. I felt uncomfortable even around familiar individuals, including my own relatives, if they spoke about marriage. I would begin to shout, extremely angry, and eventually break down into tears merely upon hearing the word marriage, regardless of whether the conversation concerned me or not. And even I myself could not understand sometimes that why I would react so strongly. Not only that, I never traveled alone. Attending fairs or crowded places is just out of the question. Even visiting the temple was something I would do only I was certain that there would be no crowd. Now in childhood, generally very little attention is given to what a child is experiencing internally. It is often assumed that the child merely needs food, rest, and the basic care. And at that time, there was none of the awareness that many parents possesses today. However, as one grows older, relationships with those around you become increasingly result-oriented. People begin to expect good performance from you in every field. And similarly, by that time, I had reached 12th grade. I was preparing for medical entrance examinations. The people around me had changed, the environment has changed, but something within me internally had still not changed. Even a minor argument at home would trigger me. I would be just studying and suddenly I would experience flashes of images of someone being beaten, those terrifying sounds, or even a sensation as though I myself was being assaulted. And do you know what was my greatest fear? If I failed to clear medical college, I would be forced into marriage. And then that man would beat me. And therefore, for me, arranged marriage symbolized fear. Pure fear. And do you know the worst part is? This did not happen just during preparations. Same thing also happened on the main day of examination. I failed once. I assumed that my preparations was insufficient. So I tried again but failed again. Each time my syllabus used to be complete and thorough. Yet during the examination, out of pressure and fear of failure, those memories would suddenly resurface. I had no awareness that I was being influenced by my own past. Childhood scenes, violence, fear, and marriage. The headaches I experienced were so severe that I used to collapse in the middle of the exam and could not focus in the exam. I was not merely recalling the past, I was actually reliving it every single time. And in this manner, after 4 failed attempts, I decided enough. I would no longer chase the entrance exam. First, I need to heal myself. Because I had completely understood that until this fear was resolved, I would not be able to move forward in life. Fortunately, around that time, lockdown happened. And honestly, that became the turning point of my life. Everything just came to halt and I was given the time to heal myself. Mind it, at that point, I had no experience of yoga, meditation, or anything I could describe as spiritual. Yet one thing was absolutely clear. I needed to understand what was actually happening within me. And I needed to heal. And so when I began working on it seriously, you won't agree, in just 15 days, just 2 weeks, I began to notice small changes. The trembling of my hands stopped, my anger began to subside, and my fear gradually began to diminish. And that was a time I realized something very much important. You know what it was? The greatest problem was not what I had witnessed in childhood. The real problem was that I was still reliving it every single day. It was not merely a memory, it was actively present within me. And this is what exactly we will explore in this video. So if you have listened up to this point, trust me, I'm not merely going to give you a theory or my story. story. I will share with you the exact same steps that I used, through which I was able to experience the shift within just 15 days. And this process I even follow today after 6 years from then onwards, when I practice yoga and meditation also. And do you know, by knowing all these, the most important thing what you will understand is, you will understand where the actual problem lies, why this is happening, and why you tend to overreact even in small triggers. And therefore, moving forward, do subscribe this channel, and if you loved the video up till here, do not forget to give this video a like. Now let us pause for a moment. If you're watching this video, then either you have experienced something similar, or you wish to understand that where this fear or anxiety within you originate. And let me tell you one thing, you're not weak, you're not overreacting. Your brain simply wants to protect you, but in an incorrect manner. The only problem is that it is still interpreting the past as your present. How? Let us understand this in simple terms. Our brain has two important parts, amygdala and hippocampus. Now please do not consider this complicated. I'll make it really very simple. Now hippocampus is that part that files memory. That means everything that you see, hippocampus bind it in a form of file. And the second is amygdala, the part that raises the alarm when there is danger. Now in normal situation, when any event occurs, the hippocampus stores it with proper time and context. And the amygdala says, okay, this is the past, now it is safe. But in case of trauma, when you witness that violence during childhood or any phase of your life, your body literally went into shock. And therefore stress hormone, that is cortisol, were released in such a huge amount that the hippocampus was unable to perform its work properly. Now since hippocampus did not perform its work properly, so the memory did not get filed in proper manner. That means the memory was not filed with date and time, it was filed just as raw pieces, like a sound or a scream or just an image, or simply in my case, something as simple as a relationship labeled as marriage. Now today when you get triggered, comes the role of amygdala. Now because hippocampus did not function properly during your childhood or during any phase of their life when you were witnessing that violence, now whenever the amygdala encounters a memory without a past label, it assumes that it is happening right now. And that is why when you hear the word marriage or see anything that triggers you, as a result your heart starts racing, your body becomes tense, and you react impulsively. And at that moment, you know what? You're not thinking. Your logical mind isn't even aware. You're just surviving by your survival mind, that is your amygdala and hippocampus. That is why you feel I'm overreacting, or question yourself that why am I unable to behave normally. Now, no. Actually, your system is functioning properly. It is simply operating on outdated data. Now understand this. This is not just theory I'm talking about. In 1990, Dr. Van der Poel and his team performed an experiment on trauma patients, means those patients who have survived some painful past. He placed the trauma patients inside MRI machines and played their own past traumatic stories in front of them. Now mind it, nothing was real. Whatever was there, it was just being played on a DVD player. But what he observed was so much shocking for me when I read the research, that I thought that experiment has been performed in me, because in the past I've experienced the exactly same behavior, and I'm almost certain that you might have also experienced something very similar. Number one is, when triggered, you are unable to speak. There's a part of the left brain known as Broca's area that is responsible for your speech. Now when you are triggered, this area generally gets shut down, and therefore you want to speak but words do not come out. You want to cry, you want to scream, you want to call someone's name, but as soon as you open your mouth, no words come out. Sounds come out, but words are not literally framed properly. Have you experienced this anytime? I don't know how many times in the past I had experienced it. Now second shocking experimental finding was, your brain perceives everything as happening now. The left brain, that is responsible for logic, time, or speech, gets shut down when you get triggered. But at the same time, your right brain gets hyperactive, and that is why you react compulsively, and that is why you're not actually remembering the memory. You're actually reliving it in the present, and so you react compulsively and very intensely as if everything is happening in the present moment. Now, the most important part, how do we overcome all these? I will share you the same 3 steps I used and also made people do it in the workshop I held. They're extremely simple but very powerful, and that is why I even practice today every day at evening, because this is something very fundamental that helps me remain conscious in my entire day, not just during my meditation. And honestly, if you practice them sincerely, you will also experience a change, no matter whether you do meditation or do not do. Step 1. Pause, the first control. When the trigger arises, do nothing. Just pause, literally for just 2 to 3 seconds. Science suggests that even a 3-second delay can prevent an emotional hijack. This small pause is extremely powerful, because in that moment, your logical brain actually begins to activate, and you gain the ability to decide whether to react compulsively or take control consciously. Essentially, you are preventing amygdala from dominating you. And the moment you pause, step 2, label it. This is where most people make a mistake. They pause but do nothing afterward. And then the old pattern returns. So you must fill that gap. How? By simply labeling it down. Not in your phone, simply label what are you feeling right now. If you're feeling tightness, label it as I am feeling tightness. If you're getting triggered right now, write I am getting triggered. If you're feeling pain somewhere, write it I am feeling pain. Just label it in 1 or 2 words or simply one line, and that is just enough. And trust me, the moment you label it, poof, your 80% work is done. The intensity reduces intensely. It is as if the brain says, alright, understood. And now comes the third step. That is the game changer, the most important step. If you do the first 2 steps without completing the third step, it is of no use. So that is why third step is the most important step. And this is where you write in more detail. Where are you feeling it? What does it feel like? And what thoughts are arising? For example, there's pressure in my chest, or I'm breathing fast, or I feel like something bad is about to happen. Now at this point, a powerful shift occurs. Earlier, you were the anxiety. Now you are observing it. You're not the anxiety or the doer anymore. You are the observer. And this in psychology is known as name it, tame it. Now, slowly take this third step even further. Write in more detail which part of the body is affected. What does it feel like? What is it communicating? The more detail you write, the greater control you gain. And now, after writing the final stage, tear the paper and perform a physical action. I used to sit for some meditation that I found at that time in YouTube. That is, I am not this mind, I am not this body. If you want, you can even go for a walk in some open space, or sit with your family members, or cook something you like, or whatever makes you feel good, and just appreciate yourself, because just now you have overcome your painful past. I practiced this meditation and affirmed this again and again because I felt that this created a distance between my mind and my body, because of which I was able to get disidentified from my memories and emotions. The memories still existed, but the suffering disappeared. I was able to let them go, and it was incredibly very much powerful. And believe me, even now, after 5 to 6 years where I'm practicing my sadhana, my yoga and meditations, I still practice these 3 steps and this one meditation before sleeping every single day. And this really works because your brain keeps repeating the thought as it believes you might forget the danger. But when you write it down, your brain receives a signal that it is stored, it is safe. And therefore, this breaks the loop. And this is known as brain dump or Zeigarnik effect. Now, this is not merely a theory. This has worked for me and so many. I was someone who feared crowds, and today I have traveled to many places all alone. I'm not saying that I'm perfect, but at least I'm not stuck. And trust me, you will also not be stuck if you practice it consistently. If you can practice this on your own, well and good. But if you can't, you can join my second session, because the exact same thing I taught in my first session to the participants, they really appreciated this and they're even working towards it. Now, if you have come this far, do one thing. Do not just watch this video. Use this video as a guide and try the all 3 steps. If you want, you can even join the workshop I'm going to conduct. Then practice it for at least a week and then come back and then comment down your experience in the comment section. And now winding up, if you loved the video, do give it a like and share this with your friends and family members. Up to next, stay safe, healthy, happy, and namaskaram.